Welcome to Stormy Willow, where we explore the paranormal, celebrate the odd, and never trust the living. I'm your host, Mac Mac Paddywhack, aka Sarah.
And I'm your host, Fumbling McFartland,
Also known
aka
as
Adele.
I was like, am I going to call you that the whole time?
I forgot that maybe you don't know who I am. I figure if you listen by now, you know who I am.
Yeah, yeah, but if somebody just decided to start on this one, they might be like, what?
But Fumbling McFartland is hilarious.
Right. Do you think that's her real name? I didn't know they were Irish. Well, this is the St. Patty's episode where I don't even think we're talking about St. Patty's, but happy St. Patty's.
Happy St. Patty's.
It's the start of spring and all things Guinness and Smittix and
Green
foolery.
and
We love it. We love it. So make sure you wear your green on Monday so you don't get pinched.
Yeah, seriously. If, like we said, they might not still do that shit, let us know.
They may not. I mean, I feel like
people are weird about their personal
weird about
space now.
Touching, yeah.
Yeah.
I accidentally hugged a kid yesterday, and the look I got was like, I cannot believe this adult just did this to me. And I realized it after I did it, like, oh no, I totally invaded this kid's space.
Yeah, it's hard to get used to.
I gotta watch that. I mean, I'm Southern, so it's real hard for me, and I mean, we're from a family of huggers, so it's really tough to remember. But speaking of awkwardness, I'm not the only one that does awkward things.
We know that.
Well, let me tell you about this marathon that just happened in Taiwan. All right, today's Booger News is brought to you by AC News. Picture it. Marathon in Taiwan. All right.
Okay.
So you're winding through military training grounds. Its participants have trained. Training for a marathon is so hard. So they are pushing themselves to the limit. But at the finish line, something rather bizarre waits for them. So after you finish this amazing race, you get yourself a nice medal, right? You're like, hell yeah, like I earned this thing. And then winners, like, if you place in your age group or overall, you get like a really cool prize, like a trophy. Well, these prizes were shaped like golden Chinese machine guns.
Oh, okay.
And so the participants were like, what?
Like on purpose? Or they just accidentally looked like machine guns?
Let's dig in, shall we? Was it just a simple mistake? Maybe. But when the rifle in question is the QBZ-95, which is a weapon currently used by the Chinese military, a force that openly threatens Taiwan, it becomes a full-blown international embarrassment. And even more eerie, the marathon route passed directly through Taiwan's military academy and other defense sites, making the whole affair feel like just a ghostly omen rather than an innocent oversight. Kind of icky.
Ew. But was it meant as like a jeer? Like that's weird. Why would why would the Taiwanese do that to their own people?
And so the legislator and the marathon, obviously people were like, why did you, what the hell? And so they quickly scrambled to apologize first and foremost, calling it an unintentional slip up. So what else would you have meant that to be shaped like?
I don't know. And were they like miniature like replicas of this weapon, like down to like a trophy size, or was it just like a gold weapon? Like
it's like this. It's like a trophy, but it's shaped like this weapon. And you just ran a marathon, so you're like, what does this have to do with anything I just fucking did?
I mean, I don't know. A lot of times the trophies are kind of goofy anyway. I'm being absolutely honest. I probably wouldn't have even noticed until somebody said something about it.
Well, being a winner myself in one race that I placed at, mine was a Glenn the Frog tumbler, and I was honored. I was like, it's useful. It's got Glenn on it. It made sense. It was a come see me race, and the mascot's a frog. I didn't get like, an AK-47 trophy.
Yeah.
So they apologized and they did offer um, trophy winners to a chance to swap their war trophy prizes for something less ominous. But many are left wondering, how did this happen in the first place, right? I mean, could it really have been a coincidence, or was there something more shadowy at play? Even a case of like maybe unseen influence even into like their most secure spaces. Like, did the Chinese come in and switch it up or something and they didn't know?
Play a joke on them? That
No,
sounds kind
I
of
don't
silly.
know. But I mean, apparently, tensions between Taiwan and China are really at an all-time high. But so it just left people feeling the ick.
Yeah, that's not very good.
So yeah, I feel bad for them. Like, because you train so hard for a marathon, and my God, especially if you place in one, like I would kind of be like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I don't know. I felt bad for them. I thought it
It's
was like,
it's like a
oh.
weird like mob threat. Like here's someone's pinky.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
like,
just bizarre.
whoa.
I don't know. It
And
just
then I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
I'm sure this is like any other marathon, like you pay to do it. So it's like, I'm not paying for this. Like, give me another trophy, please. That's how I feel.
Just give me a
Like,
big stuffed
you
panda.
know, like give me just a trophy of somebody running. Like, why are you gonna give me like a gun trophy? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, that will be an interesting one, like with all like your trophies and medals. So, like, what was that, a golden like gun?
It's like, what are you, a sharpshooter?
Yeah. No, this is what I got when I ran the Taiwan Marathon.
It's because I'm fast as a bullet, bitches.
Maybe that's what they meant. Maybe that's what they meant. That we were trying to be funny, like you're fast as a bullet, and it was just not. Maybe the joke just didn't land
It was
well.
lost on them.
It was lost on them because they were trying to say you're fast as a bullet. They went with it, not thinking like, oh, this may not be the term
Oh,
of it.
yeah. It was
Sorry.
innocent. It was totally
Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I've done jokes and they just haven't landed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, that'll at least be a conversation piece in your trophy case.
Yeah. I would keep it, honestly, just because of how
You
bizarre
wouldn't
it is.
you wouldn't swap it.
I
You
would
wouldn't be
keep
like,
it.
what I would do. I would, no.
You'd probably protest with it.
I would. I definitely, me so well. Well, anyway, so that's a fun one. I've never seen that happen. I mean, I've seen some race drama, but not quite like that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
that's pretty weird.
It is.
And if it's
Well,
like an
speaking of,
FU to them, it's way too cryptic. Like,
yeah, it's like, but I would just think that they would be more sinister to be like, hey, you want to mess with these people? They're having a marathon. Let's switch out
they're
their medals.
trophies.
Yeah, like I wouldn't, but I don't know. We live in a world where probably so. So we'll show
It
them.
probably came from America and we fucked up something somewhere along the supply chain.
What it was,
In the mess of all this shit going on
it
with
was
the
those
global economy.
tariffs. This is what happens with tariffs happens, and you have to order your trophies from America. That's what it was.
That's totally what it was.
This would have
Hello, who
never
else
happened
would make trophies
pre-tariff.
with guns? Only us.
Like, it screams USA to me right now. It's like, oh, we know who's behind this for sure.
It's this little drama queens in the White House trying to
That's
start
what
some
it
shit with
is.
you guys. Stirring the pot like a bunch of mean girls.
That that
It's total
100%.
mean girl energy, though. It had to be Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone else would be that petty. Nobody else would probably even know that that marathon was going on. They'd probably be like, what?
Those people
Okay.
run. Fuck that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
It's
send them
like, I'm gonna
some
send them
gun
some
trophies.
trophies. Ugh. We want to know if it says made in the USA. So
Can you just
if anyone received one, will you let us know?
see now you wish someone like me would have kept it?
Listen, this is when we turn into investigative reporters.
Yeah.
This podcast takes a turn.
Yeah. We're gonna dive into this. Watch this
We're gonna
space.
we're gonna dive in and see who's responsible for this. All right. Well, we want to see about this week's forecast, or do we just want to skip this part?
I mean, I'm kind of on spring break, so I don't really care.
So you can like, I don't give a
Continue. It couldn't be all any couldn't be that bad.
Oh, well, for those of us that aren't on spring break, Monday and Tuesday, we've got lunar ripples and a cosmic gust. So we have a waning moon in Sagittarius, which is going to kick our week off, sending out waves of restless energy. So you can expect a sudden craving for adventure, Adele. Maybe you need a change or an escape, whether it's an impromptu road trip or just getting lost in your thoughts. But beware, Mercury retrograde is still stirring up, so you can expect some unpredictable gusts of miscommunications. Warning, emails might vanish, text might be sent to the wrong person. Be careful if you're talking garbage, friends. May
That's
not go
just a
well.
not.
Just don't. Don't do it. Not this week.
Yeah.
Not this week. I felt personally assaulted by Mercury retrograde on Friday. I just want you to know that. All right. So midweek, we've got a psychic pressure drop. So we've got a warm front moving in. So the moon is going to drift into Capricorn, and so our atmosphere is going to tighten. That's right, not lighten, but tighten. So you might feel some pressure to get serious, lock things down, or make big decisions. It's going to be a great time for structure, but just watch out for Saturn's influence because delays and that coarse secondhand guessing may strike. Meanwhile, Venus is going to cozy up to Neptune, sending out a dreamy, foggy front of romance and nostalgia. So you can expect old flames or long forgotten feelings to rise like mist in the distance. And then finally, Thursday and Friday, solar flare of frustration and lightning strikes of clarity. So we're going to have Mars squaring with Uranus. And let's just say, brace yourself. Unexpected conflict, tech failures, and impulsive outbursts could spark like an electrical storm. So
Oh
if you
boy.
feel like you're about to snap, ground yourself before you're caught in cosmic static. So this same energy can bring flashes of insight. Something needs to change. The universe is not going to be subtle about it. Don't know what that means. And
Yikes.
guys, this is terrible, but weekend, it's going to be the calm before the next storm. So as the week closes, we have a new moon in Aries, and it's going to offer a reset button. And so this is the eye of the storm, a moment of clarity before the next wave of intensity hits. So go ahead and set your intentions, make a plan, and prepare for a fiery Aries season ahead. Don't rush. Mercury retrograde is still lurking, ready to tip up the impatient. So, in a nutshell, we got chaotic energy moving in this week filled with surprise storms and eerie coincidences. Expect a few bumps on the road, but friends, if you ride the turbulence right, you'll come out on the other side with a stronger sense of purpose. Pack patience, trust your intuition, and hold on tight, brood. Back to
Yay.
you in the studio, Adele.
Thank you. Sounds like you should bundle up and put on a raincoat,
Buckle up. Maybe just wear a helmet the whole week.
wrap yourself in bubble wrap.
I've already had an emotional outburst, been assaulted by Mercury retrograde. So I don't know. I had to delay our recording because I literally told my sister, I was like, I've had a literal breakdown, so hang on.
Yeah, I guess yeah, great. This energy is hitting some of us early. Wonderful.
Yay. But hey, it sounds like we're all in it together. So there's that, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Um,
I think I have a story that'll at least make you feel better that you're not these people.
Let's hear it. Please let me be doing better than somebody out there.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna at least be thankful we're not living in this type of environment. um,
Well, it must be pretty bad. So,
dude, like this
especially if you're
is
living in America.
we're gonna go outside of the United States. But yeah, if you were listening last week, I landed on haunting, and I have the craziest haunting I think I've
Oh,
ever heard of, like the most activity I've ever heard of. And I don't know how I've never heard
whoa.
about this place.
I can't wait
Um,
because we've heard of some pretty creepy stuff. So this is going to be awesome.
yeah, so let me set it up with a little intro. So, some hauntings whisper, but 30 East Drive screams. Furniture flips on its own, objects vanish and reappear, and thick green foam seeps from the faucets. Lights
Excuse me, like
explode.
ectoplasm.
Oh, maybe. We don't know what it is. Maybe. Lights explode, doors slam shut, and a dark hooded figure watches from the shadows. Priests tried to stop it, they failed, the family left, but the activity never stopped. Decades later, visitors still report violent attacks, whispers in the dark, and unseen hands reaching out. Whatever lurks inside 30 East Drive isn't just present, it's waiting. Ooh.
Ooh, let's go.
So yes, before we get into all this, this is crazy. This is just the most activity I've ever heard. And I would love to go stay there, and you can, and we'll get into that.
Can you
Let
imagine sitting in a chair and just flips you out?
It would make me laugh a little bit. Oh man. I'm not gonna lie, I was watching the Hosier files that came on or whatever, or something like that. I don't even remember the name. Something like that. But anyway, one of the investigators got shoved really hard by like an unseen force. And every time I cracked up laughing. Because whatever it was shoved the shit out of this guy, made him go rolling.
Guys, this is why Travel Channel didn't want to do a show with us.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real reason. We
Mm-hmm.
just can't keep it together.
Yeah. Maybe Cartoon Network would give us
Yeah.
a go.
Jackass.
But yeah, I have several sources to thank before we get into the story. So 30 East Drive, the official website, it has tons of the histories and
Its own
current
website.
happenings.
Oh, I'm going
Yes.
there just so I can get a visual while you're telling me the story.
Oh yeah. Poltergeist, a study in destructive haunting by Colin Wilson. 30 East Drive, moving in with the world's most violent poltergeist by Richard Estup. Also, Haunted Happenings, Ghost Hunts, Richard Estup's personal investigations, Owen Sandy's visit and report, Spirit Shack paranormal blog, Experience Wakefield, uh, podpage.com, Lad Bible, The Sun, Britain's most haunted house, Yorkshire Post, because this is going to take us to that area, and Reddit discussions on 30 East Drive as well. Also, Amy's Crypt and YouTube. So yeah, tons of investigators also have gone to this place as well. And we'll get into some of that, but holy crap, the activity alone is going to take up, I think, most of our time.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but yes, so we're going to be talking about 30 East Drive, and it's situated in Pontefract, West Yorkshire,
Let's
England.
go.
It's on the Chesterfields estate. And some fun facts about Pontefract. Pontefract Castle was dubbed the key to the north. This medieval fortress saw brutal battles, royal betrayals, and possibly the murder of King Richard II.
Ooh.
Also, Pontefract is the licorice capital of the UK. That was
Who
our hint
knew?
this week. So yeah, it once grew so much that monks would use the licorice as medicine, even. So they have the famous Pontefract cakes. These are like little candies that you can get from there. So, and they even have a licorice festival every year. All right, so that's a little bit about Pontefract itself. But I think what we'll do is start with the family who kind of put this on the map, and then we'll go through like the history and what we think about all this. Um,
Okay.
so we're gonna start with the Pritchard family and their wild experiences. I mean, it's absolutely insane what this family went through in a very short amount of time. And the Pritchards were described as typical working class family, and they moved into 30 East Drive, Pontefract in August 1966. It was a hot summer bank holiday. And the family consisted of parents Jean and Joe, and they had two children, Philip, who was 15, and Diane, who was 12. And I mean, they have experiences like within shortly moving in. So almost
Wow.
right away, in August 1966. Shortly after moving in, 15-year-old Philip Pritchard and his grandmother, Sarah Scholes, observed a fine layer of chalk-like dust inexplicably falling from below head height, not from the ceiling. So, if you can
Whoa.
imagine it, it's like dust falling from the middle of the air. Like it's just falling from
That's
thin air.
weird.
Like, right? So it's like what the hell? Um so and the fact that there's multiple witnesses in most of these accounts I think is pretty um I don't know, special that there's multiple eyewitnesses, even neighbors. So a lot of accounts that I think validate a lot of the things. Um,
Yeah.
Also, Sarah fetched her daughter, like this is in the same situation. So Sarah fetched her daughter, Mrs. Kelly. I couldn't find a first name for her for like I don't know. I tried to do my due diligence, but all that came up was Mrs. Kelly. Um, but either way, she got Mrs. Kelly to witness the falling dust, and in an effort to clean before Jean and Joe returned from enjoying their holiday, Mrs. Kelly entered the kitchen, and when she was looking for cleaning supplies, a puddle of water had mysteriously appeared, and she slipped in it. And then, as she tried to mop this water puddle, more puddles appeared. And they just kept
Oh,
appearing through the linoleum floor in the kitchen, like
that's like
before
a
their very
bad
eyes.
joke.
Yeah. And at this point, Philip is also in the kitchen, also eyewitnessing this happen. So he's witnessed both of these things all
Oh
around,
my
like
gosh.
back to back. And another occasion, in the kitchen, the tea dispenser activated on its own, spraying tea leaves across the kitchen. Additionally, cupboards and furniture began to vibrate and move without explanation. And these events were experienced by Philip and Sarah both. And then, I mean, that's just August. The first month they're moving in, like, right? And then
I
September,
mean, there's like no time to get settled in. It's like
yeah.
bam.
Like they still probably have boxes. They're like not even unpacked yet. And then September, it escalates quickly. They start getting those notorious temperature changes. So the family experienced sudden cold gusts of wind inside the house and heard unexplained footsteps and banging noises, particularly from the upper floors. These occurrences were reported by all family members. And then the green foam and slime. This is very odd. A green foam like substance started oozing from water taps and even the toilet, persisting even when the water supply was turned off. This phenomenon was witnessed by the entire Pritchard family. They also had electrical disturbances, so lights would switch on and off by themselves. Various electrical appliances malfunctioned without any apparent cause. All family members observed these disturbances as well. So they're all corroborating this with each other and experiencing it a lot of times together, even, which I think is
But
odd.
but it is kind of nice because sometimes I feel like this happens to one person for a hot minute and they feel like they're going bananas. So at
Yeah.
least they're all seeing it and like, okay, we're all seeing this, right?
Yeah, it's like the brazenness of whatever is here is clearly not afraid of just showing itself to
Yeah.
everybody.
Like I'm here.
I mean, it's not playing around. But somehow, even with all this, they still last until like late '96 through I mean, sorry, 1966 through 1968.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they stuck it out. So around this time, household items, including plants, would be like thrown around. Like the plants would even be pulled from their pots. So it wasn't like the whole pot. It was just like the plant itself would be pulled out of the pot and thrown across the room, as well as heavy furniture, just moved around and thrown across the rooms. A heavy sideboard was reportedly seen levitating and then dropping back into place. Photographs were also slashed, like had slash marks with like a sharp knife-looking object. So that's really creepy. And these incidents were
Mm.
witnessed by various family members and visitors, even. So even
Oh
guests.
my gosh.
And also physical assault. So this entity appeared to focus its aggression on 12-year-old Diane. Poor thing.
Oh,
She was dragged up
hard
this.
enough being 12.
I know, right? It's like middle school's already tough, dude. But yeah, she was dragged up the stairs by an unseen force, leaving visible bruises on her throat. On other
Hmm.
occasions, she was slapped, had her hair pulled, and was pinned beneath heavy furniture that moved on its own. These attacks were witnessed by Diane and other family members. Obviously, they were witnessed by Diane.
Yeah.
um, and then there's this apparition to throw into the mix, as if all of that wasn't enough. Family members and visitors reported seeing a hooded monk like figure appearing and disappearing within the house. Notably, Jean
Ew.
and Joe Pritchard claimed to have seen the black monk standing over their bed. And just for shits and giggles, they started referring to this friendly little poltergeist as Fred. Um, so that's their fun little pet name for whatever this entity is that's terrorizing them. And then they still are sticking it out in 1969. They finally try some religious intervention. The family sought help from a local priest to perform an exorcism. However, during the ritual, faces were slapped. A candlestick reportedly floated in front of the priest before an unseen force shoved him down the stairs. And Fred's hands would appear from nowhere and conduct the Christian songs aimed at shooing him away, whilst wearing huge women's fur gloves.
What?
So it's like hands that were wearing women's fur gloves would just appear, like kind of like they're leading the choir.
That's how
Which
I
I
want
think
to. That's how I'm gonna show up in the afterlife.
I think that sounds absolutely horrifying.
Hilarious.
But yeah, this event was witnessed by the priest and the whole Pritchard family.
Like, what in the Pee Wee's Playhouse is this?
And according to Haunted Happenings, the disturbances eventually caused the family to abandon their home in the mid 1970s.
The gloves did it. They're like, I'm done.
Dude,
I'm out.
that would have done it for me. Um, jeez. And then so you also have this neighbor, Carol Fieldhouse, who can attest to some of
Oh,
these.
Carol.
Carol, yeah, she gets herself all up in this stuff. So Carol was something of a psychic,
Of
and
course.
of course, and had encountered the poltergeist a number of times in her adjoining property and can confirm the strange happenings. She lived, well, I think she might still live there, lives maybe adjacent to 30 East Drive, and she reported uh, at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. roughly, she would hear bumps and bangs coming from number 30. She would even see glowing blue balls of energy in the corridor. The duvet on
Oh,
Carol's, yeah, so like energy, I don't know, orbs, something. The
holy
du
cow.
Yeah, the duvet on Carol's son's bed would be like formed into the shape of a man that was like sitting on his bed, you know? Like, ugh. And the black shadow of a very tall entity coming through the wall in her house and so on. Um, yeah, so she's experienced a lot, even just living nearby.
Oh,
Um, and don't worry, she'll come back too. She sticks around for some of the paranormal investigations and things later on. So, Carol's very familiar with the case and can definitely corroborate some of what's said about the property. But then I think what begs the question is like, what the hell is the history of this haunted as shit property? Like, how are the Pritchards like the first people to really get like media attention about this? Um, well, let's get into that. So, I mean, the property goes back to like pre-Roman times. But probably it was just open fields at that time, is what they believe. And then in like the 1090s, the De Lacy family, they built the Pontefract Castle, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and it became one of the most like fought over fortresses in England. So you can imagine a lot of battles happened there.
oh yeah.
And then in the 12th century, some monks actually kind of homestead there. So the Cluniac monks settle. They're like a Christian, monk group. So they're just kind of hanging out there in the 12th century. So we've been hearing this shadowy figure and they're calling it kind of like a black monk figure. So allegedly, one of these Cluniac monks was executed for a horrific crime and buried near what would become 30 East Drive. So I don't know, maybe we can talk a bit more about what we think about could this possibly be this black monk. But that was in the 1500s. So as you can see, the monks were there for quite a while. Um, and then you even have the English Civil War in 1645 around this area. I mean, it was completely blood-soaked war zone, a soldier's fight to break the siege at Pontefract Castle.
Mm.
And then 1800s to 1940s, really nothing but fields. Um, like for centuries, the land just sat there, kind of minding its own business. And then finally in the 1950s, council houses arrived. Those are the same thing as like government housing for us in the
Okay.
US. So it's like government built homes, and this was like post-war, so Britons needed new homes after World War II, so the Chesterfields estate was built, and that's kind of like the first time it's an official, I think, home as far as like any
Gotcha.
residents we can track down. So yeah, it does have quite an interesting, long and bloody history anyway. But it's interesting it does connect to some monks that kind of might fit this description of the shadow figure. So we can talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But now, if you remember the first family, the Pritchards, they didn't move in until 1966, but these structures were built in the 1950s. And there was a family who lived there before who actually also had a number of crazy, like paranormal activity.
Okay.
I don't know why
Hmm.
this family wasn't the one to put it on the map. Maybe they just didn't
Yeah.
talk about it as much. But the Farah family lived here first. This is the very first family to live in this property once it was built. Um, and they moved in around September 1954, and they consisted of Leander William Farah. He went by Bill. He was a World War II veteran, and his wife Barbara, and their infant daughter Jane. And they had some wild experiences too. So, just to list some of them, Bill Farah meticulously installed cupboards and fittings, ensuring they were perfectly level. However, he later found them inexplicably askew, despite no apparent disturbances. The couple frequently
That would be such a
argued of
pain.
what's that?
That would be such a pain in the ass.
Oh, that would be so
Just spend
frustrating.
all just spend all your time getting stuff lined up and you come back in and it's all messed up. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. You'll notice that as like a theme. I think just kind of pissing these two off. So the couple frequently argued over misplaced belongings, each suspecting the other moving items. So it's just kind of driving them crazy with each other.
Yeah.
And also wallpaper refused to adhere to the walls, peeling off without a discernible cause, even after repeated attempts to fix it. It just would not stick.
Mm, that
Despite
just drives me nuts
efforts.
for them already.
Right, it's just like annoying crap that drives you in, like really just you
Yes.
really irritated. Also, despite efforts to heat the house, it remained unusually cold, prompting multiple visits from the council to address the issue, and it still stayed cold. So, no idea why. And
Mm.
Barbara's mother, Nancy, experienced an unsettling event while babysitting her granddaughter, Jane. Upon the Pharaoh's return, Nancy demanded to leave immediately, visibly distressed. And though she never disclosed what had occurred, like, it really rattled her. So who knows what the hell she saw. Also, the outdoor coal house exuded such an ominous presence that Barbara avoided it altogether. She was unwilling to go out there to collect coal. It just freaked her out. Uh,
She's like, nope, not doing it.
like, nope, just too dark and creepy. And the family frequently discovered unexplained scratches and cuts on their furniture, as well as damage to Jane's stroller without any identifiable cause. Uh,
Oh my gosh.
Despite being an avid gardener, Bill struggled to grow anything in their garden, and an anomaly he couldn't explain. I mean, the guy says he knows what he's doing, can't get anything to grow. And their daughter Jane, she cried incessantly each night without a medical reason. However, when she stayed at her grandparents' home, she slept peacefully. So it wasn't
Oh,
seemed to be a problem child not being able to sleep. It seemed to be tied to the home, right? And Jane developed scratches and blood marks on her face while sleeping.
oh no.
Yeah. Even after her parents put mittens on her to prevent self-inflicted
Oh.
scratches, the marks continued to appear, so it wasn't her scratching herself as an infant does.
Oh.
Um, and then during Barbara's second pregnancy, she faced numerous medical issues requiring weekly injections. Notably, after an initial home visit, the doctor refused to return to 30 East Drive, insisting Barbara visit the surgery instead. I guess they call it the surgery. I think they mean the
Wow. He's
doctor.
like, I'm not coming back here. You're gonna have to come in. Sorry.
You're gonna have to go to
You're gonna have to come to
hospital.
me.
Yeah, he's like, no, you can come see me. So yeah, this family, the Farahs, obviously had a lot of activity as well. And them just being the first to move in, like who knows how long this energy has been there, if it was just like open fields. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, let's get back into the black monk, right? This whole idea. So the belief that that entity, the shadow figure people see at 30 East Drive is a black monk, as I mentioned, stems from, maybe that these monks really were there at one point in time. And it's also kind of a combination of just eyewitness descriptions and then what's turned into local legend. So, um, obviously, multiple eyewitnesses, including the Pritchard family as well as the neighbors, seeing this shadowy hooded figure. So, people are kind of describing what looks like the same thing. They describe it as tall, dressed in a long dark robe with a hood, resembling a medieval monk.
Mm,
And Jean and Joe claimed that they saw it as well, standing over their bed one night, which kind of like reinforced what everybody's saying.
right.
And then you have a local legend kind of born from those Cluniac monks, if you remember. So they have the whole city has historical ties to the Cluniac Monastery, which was active during the medieval period. And according to legend, as I mentioned, there was a monk accused of doing something very bad, which was assaulting a young girl and murdering
Mm.
her. And he was sentenced to death by hanging for this. So he was
Oh.
supposedly executed near what is now 30 East Drive.
Okay. I was about to ask if that. Okay. Now we're making some
And
connection.
and allegedly his body was thrown into a well on the property.
Okay.
So maybe that's the green stuff from the pipes. Who knows? But yeah, so historical research, people have tried to figure out what historically could have happened to make this activity, right? So local historians did not initially associate the haunting with the Black Monk, but it kind of retroactively fit, right? So it's like I don't know. Some people have a problem with that because it's like everybody's seeing what they described as like the shadow figure, and then you find this part of history that kind of fits that story, but it's like, are we just trying to force that to work, or is that what it is? You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, they found a piece of history that seems to roughly match the description of the shadow figure. So you could say maybe it is that monk that was hanged, or maybe not. I don't
I
know.
mean, yeah. I think it makes sense.
And another reason people think it might be this monk is because of the violence, particularly towards Diane.
That's what I was also gonna say. Yes.
Yeah, so the fact that she was so violently targeted, maybe it's like, replaying the crimes against that young girl. And some theorists suggest the entity is reenacting this aggression towards Diane. Um, and poltergeists typically fade after a few years, yet this haunting has persisted for decades. So that's kind of unusual, which makes me, maybe it's not a poltergeist. It might just be like a haunting.
Right.
um,
Like maybe even like a residual type haunting.
yeah. So, but the interesting thing is that this has continued even after Diana's left. So, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean the monk kind of it fits, or you can make it fit. So who knows? But this gets even crazier because today, it is the property is owned by Bill Bungay, and he's an advertising professional and film producer. And he purchased 30 East Drive in 2012 after producing the horror film When the Lights Went Out, based on this property.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so what a nut, right? Like, that's pretty awesome. Way to go, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
So he said he claims that he was drawn to the property's infamous reputation as one of Europe's most haunted houses. And since acquiring the property, Bill has reported personal experiences with unexplained phenomena.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he has heard loud footsteps while alone in the house and has had objects suddenly hurled in his direction. And despite owning the house, Bill admits he is too frightened to spend the night there himself.
Oh, that would suck to buy a home and be like, well, I'm too scared to stay here.
Yeah, he offers the property, however, as overnight stays for paranormal enthusiasts, so you can
That's
stay
so
here.
cool.
But he does require guests to sign a waiver before entering due
Oh,
to the potential danger.
it's
The
like you're
house
not
is
suing
off.
me.
What's
It's
that?
like you're not suing me if something
Well, yeah,
happens.
right. They're not responsible for any
Yeah,
stuff.
for what the entities do.
You are well aware by this point.
Yeah, you signed off on this.
But yeah, the house is actually often booked well in advance, so I think a lot of people
Really?
are into it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of enthusiasts. I feel like the UK has more paranormal enthusiasts than the
Oh, yeah.
US.
Well, like their history,
Yeah, so
it's crazy.
yeah,
You might get there, and if I'm spoiling it, I'm sorry. I want to know if one Zach Bagans has been there.
actually no. I think it's mostly been folks that are investigators in England.
Wow, okay.
I have not heard of ZB going there. But yeah, we still have even more activity. So this is like right on their website. There's like if you go to, I think it's just like 30eastdrive.com. It's their main website where you can book and
Yeah, I've
everything.
been on there while you've been talking just to kind of get, a feel of the place.
But yeah, like it keeps like an updated list of activity and
Yeah,
things
it's
going
pretty
on.
current.
But I thought this was interesting. This is straight from the website, and it's an addendum from Bill. And it says on February 14th, 2016, I went on one of my occasional visits to the house. I was alone washing some items in the kitchen sink when I felt the instinct to turn. I looked over my right shoulder only to see a small object materialize above the dining room table before being projectile blasted at my head. Um, I could have sworn that it was going to hit me between the eyes and would have hurt had it done so, but it missed me by a whisker and ricocheted off the kitchen window. I looked down to see a small wooden domino, um, that just materialized out of nowhere. And after a few regrettable expletives, I felt the need to thank it for demonstrating to me its ability to teleport, the first truly indisputable paranormal act I had witnessed. So, yeah, Bill just you know, in 2016 had that account just trying to do some dishes. Like, seriously, not even being there long enough.
He's like, I'm just trying to do some dishes, man. Leave me
Yeah.
alone.
And he continues on about like other objects being thrown at him and other things like that. Also, if you go to the happenings, I think, tab on the website, it's a page of 288 paranormal accounts, like just
That's
recently.
a lot.
Like including a missing mattress. Either
What?
this I thought was a little funny.
Missing match,
There's
right?
like it's a note from them. It says, editor is perplexed why anyone would want to steal a secondhand 30-pound mattress. If anyone knows what happened to it, please let editor know here. There will be no recourse whatsoever. Simply want to know if this is the biggest object ever teleported or not. So they're just curious if it was stolen or if it was teleported by this entity. But there is
Oh,
a missing mattress.
I mean, if it were like if it was paranormal, oh my God, like that's crazy.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I
I
don't
can't
know.
imagine somebody really wanting to steal a mattress, just saying, but I mean,
Right?
their own.
Or maybe it's gonna like reappear somewhere weird. Who knows?
But it's like, yeah, I just would think that would be something someone would be like, let's steal this mattress.
Right? It would be so difficult to do.
And ooh,
Right. And like, why would you want that?
I think most people are kind of like, no thanks, I'm good.
Yeah. So those are just people who like recently stayed there as well as Bill. We've also had paranormal investigators throughout the years. I don't know if you remember this one, but I used to watch Most Haunted with Mom like a good bit.
Oh yeah,
Most Haunted Live. It had like the psychic guy with like the earring,
yes, I
kind of
do
like
remember.
blonde. He was like kind of like gray, and the blonde lady. But anyway, they did a Halloween 2015 episode there.
All
Um,
fun.
and it was an overnight investigation at the location. And of course, Carol, the neighbor, she appeared on this episode.
I want to meet Carol. Carol sounds like a good time to me.
Carol sounds like a blast. So she appeared as
Carol has seen
herself.
some stuff.
Yeah, and she just, kind of provided insight into the hauntings, and she also hammed her way into some other ones as well. As like 2016, she was interviewed by ghost hunters of Stoke-on-Trent, and
She's like, I
2019.
will be famous one way or another. I'll show you guys.
Yeah,
I love it. Way to go, Carol.
dude, yeah, good for you, Carol. Like, and she also did a 2019 paranormal investigation in Bolton with the Ouija brothers. And Carol reportedly experienced possession by a sinister force during that. So check
Ooh,
that out.
I love it. She's making quite a name for herself.
Yeah. But like getting back to I guess that most haunted live investigation, there was some odd encounters and things that happened. Like Carl Beatty, one of the show's lead investigators, was reportedly dragged up the stairs, kind of like Diane, by a horse. Footage captured the moment, though skeptics later questioned whether a cable or a strap was responsible. So,
Oh no.
uh, also, a knife went missing from the kitchen, only to be found in another location later. Talk show host Paul O'Grady joined the team as a guest and later commented on eerie atmosphere at the house. And viewers watching the live stream reported seeing shadowy figures and unexplained light anomalies on camera in real time. So yeah, they had a pretty fun Halloween night. It sounds like.
I mean, it sounds like a great time. Better than my Halloween. Usually, like, nobody comes here and, I'm sound asleep.
Yeah. And then let's see, haunted happenings and public investigations also occur at this location. So you can do paranormal tours with the company like Haunted Happenings, and they host regular overnight ghost hunts at 30 East Drive, allowing participants to conduct their own investigations. Reoccurring reports by visitors are sudden temperature drops, unexplained loud bangs, knocks, and whispers, visual apparitions, including fleeting glimpses of a hooded figure, and some guests have reported being scratched or pushed while standing inside the house. So that sounds like a lot of
Dang.
fun to me.
It sounds like they do a lot, and it sounds like you're gonna get something whenever you go. You're gonna witness something. It sounds like,
Yeah, it sounds like this is the place for someone skeptical to go, for
yeah,
sure. So I definitely want to go.
I want to go.
Also, Richard Estup, he's a paranormal researcher. He spent several nights inside 30 East Drive, just documenting his experiences, and he found repeated equipment malfunctions, particularly with electronic devices meant to
Mm,
capture evidence, unexplained movements of objects, including furniture shifting on its own. Like
that's
that
a
would be
strong
wild
energy.
to like come back home and all your furniture is just in
Oh my
different places.
God. These entities would drive me crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, also called EVPs, like a lot of activity. You even have independent and YouTube investigators as well. Like you can just check them out on YouTube. There's tons. They also catch similar, evidence and experiences like the shadow figures, footsteps knocking, objects moving without a visible cause, and just general sensory experiences of feeling creeped out, things
Mm.
like that. And yeah, there are ongoing paranormal activity and investigations, so you can definitely stay here overnight. And despite years of investigations, 30 East Drive continues to be one of the most active and frequently visited paranormal locations in the UK.
Well, Adele, my passport's up to date. I'm ready to go.
Right? I am too.
I think it would
But
be
to
a
be
black.
fair, like that's all the stories. So I think to be fair, we should look at the criticism and skepticism. But as I said, if you want to stay overnight, you can absolutely book this on the website and just sign a waiver.
Yeah.
And don't steal the mattresses.
No, I'm good. I'm good on mattresses. I
All right, so
don't want that.
we've heard all the spooky details, but let's see what the critics have to say. So they claim a lack of historic evidence for the Black Monk legend. Uh,
Boo.
I mean, right, we don't have a name, we don't have a death certificate. Like, who knows if someone really was hanged and all of that, right? One of the most significant points is the concern that the story of the Black Monk, isn't real. While the legend claims the Cluniac monk was executed near the site for crimes against the young girl, there's no historical records we can find to confirm that. And Pontefract was home to, the real Cluniac monastery, but there is no documentation of a monk being hanged or buried beneath what is now 30 East Drive. So I don't know. I know, like we're also dealing with time periods that are so long ago. I don't know if there would even exist any such,
Right. Exactly.
documentation.
Those were my thoughts to you.
Yeah. And so, and kind of like I mentioned, some researchers argue that they're kind of forcing this black monk legend to fit, even though it might not be
Yeah,
like that.
I can see that, but I don't know. I think there's just been too many weird occurrences.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whether it's the monk or not, I still think there seems like some.
Yeah, whether it's the monk or not, there's something there that's not pleased.
Yeah. And then some skeptics even suggest that the activity, especially during the Pritchard family's time, could be attributed to psychological factors, including mass hysteria. I don't know about that with other people and witnesses and Carol. um, it's possible, And the poltergeist phenomenon as a psychological manifestation. I love this theory though. Like some researchers theorize that adolescent energy, particularly from individuals like Diane, could have unconsciously caused objects to move, but they still have the activity without Diane, is my problem with that one.
Right, exactly. Like I could definitely see that if it just happened to Diane, maybe being like this could have some things, but it seems like this so many people have had occurrences. It's just
Yeah.
questionable to me.
I mean, this is finally like, I would say this to me is finally a ghost story we've covered where the skeptical side doesn't overturn me. Like it's just not holding up to all the activity that's going on here.
Right. I
Um,
agree.
Alternative explanations, critics argue that it could be drafts and vibrations causing doors to open and close. I mean, yeah, it could be.
I mean, sure.
But what's
But
causing
to
the
that, but
vibrations?
furniture too, though.
Right, like really big, heavy headboards and things, though. Unless there's like a hurricane blowing through there all the time, I don't get that. Um,
Yeah.
they're saying it's like settling of the house, just like those creaks and noises you hear. I've heard that too. Like those aren't the same noises as like footsteps and
Yeah, I
banging.
agree.
They're also saying I kind of agree with I kind of take orbs with a grain of salt. They think that like
Well,
a lot of
sure, but
it's some
they
sort
can
of
be
dust or camera
a
glitch
lot of stuff. Yeah.
as far as like the shadow figures and things go. And the electrical issues, they just think it could be, something rational, like something wrong with their electricity.
Well, wouldn't it have been fixed by now? I mean, come on.
Right, but the prior family, I feel like since they were constantly complaining about how cold it was, probably checked that kind of stuff.
I
I
would
don't
think so
know.
too.
To me, it just sounds like it's such electrical activity that it's not. Oh, it just needs a new light bulb.
Right.
Um, let's see what else. I think those were the main skeptical points. And they're like the typical skeptical points. I did want to say that samples of that green substance were sent for chemical analysis, like from the pipes,
Mm-hmm.
but the substance could not be identified.
Mm,
But the
that's a,
weird part, also what can't be identified is who did the who did the test. I don't know. I couldn't find
oh.
anything on who did the
Well,
analysis, who they sent it to.
Ghostbusters, then I don't want to hear it.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, while that sounds like, ooh, also I can't find any details about, like, what test was performed, who did
Right.
it, when, what did they find. I can't find anything about it other than they allegedly had it tested. But yeah, this is the haunting of 30 East Drive. I mean, it still remains one of the most debated poltergeist cases and active hotspots today. Um, and I think I have to visit it.
I think it's a must. Wow, Adele, that's a good one. I can't believe I don't really know more about like I haven't really heard of this one with it being so active, you know?
Yeah, I've never heard of this case. I haven't really heard of any US investigators going to investigate there
Well,
either.
maybe we'll be the first. I mean, finally we beat somebody to the scene. Oh my gosh. Well, with that, do we want to spin the wheel to see what we've got coming next week for us?
Yeah, I think we should. All right, I got the wheel up.
All right.
We ready?
We're ready.
What will it be? What will it be? Oh,
I get the first WTF.
you
I
get the
think
first WTF.
awesome. Well, okay, remind the listeners.
You mean remind you?
Yeah, aka me.
I would say it's a glorified presenter's choice, just kind of anything that's oddity related that's just like mind blowing.
Yes, and this is a new a new topic that we're covering, a WTF.
Yeah, WTF.
Well, I've got you covered. Well, Adele, Brood, as we say on our podcast, stay safe out there, friends,
Stay curious.
and never trust the living.
Living.
All right, you guys, have a Guinness, have a Smittix, do a jig.
Have a few.
Happy sick, happy stay.
Laters.